Conor Benn, welcome to the Without Limits podcast. I am super grateful for you making the trip out here, mate. I know it's you got a busy schedule. I think your missus was ill yesterday and a couple of kids to look after, so I know that's no easy feat leaving the family to get out here.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
I always start with what does Without Limits mean to the guest, and you know it's obviously the name of this podcast. It's something that rings true throughout our entire brand, and it's actually how I kind of vet some of the people that I follow and the stuff that I consume through social media, athletes that inspire me, because I believe they have a similar kind of mindset and outlook towards their own pursuit of their life and their career and their sport, and hence why I was keen to get you sat opposite me. So I'll start with that. What does Without Limits mean to you?
Without limits, I think a lot of people can place limits in their head mentally. It's breaking through that barrier to really see success. It's pushing through. Just when you think you can't go no more, just keep going and you'll see how far you can go. And that means translates into business, sports, whatever it is. Go out there and attack it.
Yeah, we spoke just before we went on air about you just being on smoke every day, and it's something that I think I resonate with, that need to want to get up and just go after it each day. And we talk about earning your pillow. By the end of the day, knowing that you've gone out there and you've given your all to that day, whatever it may be, the interactions with your family, your wife, your kids, working on your brain, working on your body, the things you might consume. And I want to sort of understand where that came from you, right? And I also want to try and tap into this idea of nature versus nurture. You come from a boxing royalty, and we'll talk a little bit more about boxing later, and also the fact that you've got a pretty unconventional route into boxing, started it a little bit later than most. I've heard you talk about not knowing really who your dad was from a boxing perspective until 16 years old, which to me is mind-blowing. So I want to unpack that a little bit, but
of course,
this idea of nature versus nurture, and you've got kids yourself now, how much of who you are now do you think is because you're obviously Nigel's son versus the environments that you put yourself into to try and become a boxer?
I think for me, my story is very different because I haven't come from, I ain't had to get it out of the mud. I ain't come from rags to riches. I ain't got that story. So my journey into boxing is sort of fate. And whether I like it or not, I am my father's son. And I could see from looking back now from when I was a kid, it was always there. I think you're born the way I am, the way we are. I don't think it's anything that you can do yourself to try and become. You either like it or you're not. I've always woke up every morning for as long as I can remember and been on smoke. And trust me, it frustrates me, but I've got to attack the day. The morning is the time for me to wake up and get the work in. That sets me up for my day. And that then prepares me for anything that comes throughout the day. Morning 10K is standard. That's just it's a non-negotiable. Intermittent fasting, non-negotiable. Those are just my benchmarks. And I feel like from young, my dad sort of guided me like this without me even realising. You think my dad has 8 kids. I'm probably the only one that's like me. Very different, very driven, wake up, attack the day sort of mindset.
I didn't know your dad had 8 kids. Where'd you sit in sort of the
middle?
You were the middle.
Middle. I got a twin sister, polar opposite. Polar opposite. She's just polar opposite.
So, like I said, you didn't really come into boxing. You had a pretty unconventional start in boxing until what age did you first lace up the gloves? And
I had my first amateur bout in 1 year, 16 to 17.
So did your dad protect you from boxing in those early years up until 16 years old, or why did you not, given where you are now in the sport, right? One of the brightest prospects we've had for a long time, and how passionate you are about it, and how it's it's your identity now. Why in the first 16 years of your life were you not a boxer?
I just weren't raised around it. It wasn't the environment I was in. I used to sing in the church choir, play the guitar, listen to, heavy metal, Avenged Sevenfold, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. Those were my, I know it's crazy because you can't see it now, but that was me growing up. I used to skateboard, longboard, BMX. That was the sort of way I was raised. I remember I was raised in Spain. I lived in Spain for 12 years. Then we moved to Sydney for 4 years. And it was the transition from Spain to Sydney, where we stopped off in England, and I went to one of my dad's Q&As and one of Ricky Hatton's first fights. And when I introduced my dad, it was like the crowd erupted, and I was like, wow, like, you're the OG. And my dad was just my dad to me.
You had no real
No, not really.
understanding
I mean, I found it a little bit odd that it's my reality, but it was a little bit odd that my parents never used to work.
Mm.
And I thought the life I lived was just a normal life because it was my reality. But looking back, it's such a privileged upbringing I had.
How old were you when he retired? Were you already retired before you came along?
How old was I?
When he retired?
I wasn't even born.
Fine. So
he had retired maybe a year before I was born.
Okay. So, okay, fine. So he wasn't identified as a boxer, wasn't doing anything to do with boxing?
He sold his belts, his WBC, WBO belts to charity. You know, he was heavily involved in the church. So boxing was my dad's past and everything that come with it. It weren't good memories. It weren't the greatest of memories for the family, so to speak, because of everything it come with. So when he had dived deep into faith, he sold all his belts to charity. The Nigel Benn, the Dark Destroyer, was of old. And he was, you know, that life was gone.
Okay, that makes more sense. So you go growing up, you weren't around boxing, you weren't in the gyms.
I was heavily involved in the church, and my school was the church, so it was all one.
Why the move to Spain?
Just a better way of living. I think for my family, I think he burnt a candle at both ends and was, you know, wanted to start fresh. So we moved to Spain, and it was probably the best decision for the family and the kids.
How much did sport, you mentioned sort of longboard and BMX, how much was that an influence on?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, definitely. It was everything I'd done as a kid, as a youth. I didn't really play football. I didn't get into football. It was, skateboarding, longboarding, BMXing for me. That was like, it's what I loved to do.
And when you say now you kind of wake up, you're on smoke. Back then, was it the same? Were you up at
I'd wake up and ride my BMX. You wouldn't know Mallorca, but from Santa Ponsa to Palma, which is, I don't know, but it's a long way away. And I used to ride my BMX, no gears, up mountains, down mountains, like first thing in the morning, ride to my mates, chill with my mate all day, and then ride back home. And when I mean it's far, it's far.
Was there anything that your dad took from boxing into how he maybe parented you in terms of like discipline? Yeah.
It was discipline.
And what did that
what does that look like?
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why it was so hard. You got to remember, my dad comes from a military background as well. My dad was in the Army, Royal Regiment Fusiliers. So he was strict. He was a disciplinarian. And I never understood it. I never understood why he was so strict with me. I never understood why he was so hard on me. And I guess he worried about me. I guess he worried about me just, you know, being like him. He worried me becoming like him because I guess he saw a lot of similarities in me that maybe concerned him. But then as I've got older, I am my dad's twin.
Did he treat you differently to any of the other siblings? Because he probably saw similarities in himself.
He definitely treated me different. Definitely.
From a discipline standpoint?
Yeah. Very disciplined with me. Yeah, very disciplined. And I guess I didn't understand it growing up because I was like, man, I didn't feel loved. How do you feel loved? You know, it was like I don't know. It was like there wasn't much empathy, compassion, you know, love. It was very disciplined. But it was love as well. Mm. It was still love, but it's only as you get older that you understand it was all love anyway. It was probably more love.
What does the discipline look like? Was it around school? Was it around bedtime? Was it around?
It was everything, the whole lot. Bedtime, making a bed, listening to your mum, being 5 minutes late to getting home, to, you know, not maybe passing this test, you know, me coming second in the racing or whatever it was discipline across the board. It wasn't like one specific thing. It was no talking back though. Talking back, that was a big no-go. It's a big no-go. Not even a kiss your teeth, none of that. Yeah.
Did you resent it or?
Yeah, of course I did.
When you're young, right?
Yeah. I couldn't stand my dad. I couldn't stand him growing up because I didn't understand. All I needed was love. You know, all I needed was him to love me. But he did love me, but I didn't understand why he was so strict with me. But now as I've got older, I look back and I go, yeah, I get it now. I understand. But if he wasn't the way he was with me, I wouldn't be the man I am today. He never spoiled me. And that's what people get twisted. My dad done such a good job. My dad and mum done such an amazing job with me understanding that the life I'm living is because of them. I'm not entitled to none of it. I've got once I'm come of age, I got to go and get it myself. My dad and mum made a very good decisions in doing that.
What is it? I mean, back then, obviously, boxers have always been, you know, well paid, right? Back then, what does that look like for you in terms of like a lifestyle? Mum and dad got a nice house, nice cars, obviously not, you know, not spoiling you and stuff, but you're around the nicer things in life.
Yeah, it made me more ambitious to not settle for anything less. You know, for me, I look at that and I go, yeah, I don't want to give my kids any less.
Did you ever ask, how did we get all this stuff, Dad?
Nah, because it was just my life. It's not like it was just our stuff. So you're raised in it. You're raised in that environment.
So you think you've got, at that stage,
it was normal.
You think you've got all that from your dad being in the church?
No, I didn't question it. I didn't really think about it. I honestly didn't even think about it. But you got to remember, it's just, I thought that was normal anyway. So it wasn't like, how have we got all this stuff? How have we got all this time? How do we live this life? It was just the way I was raised. So it's...
No, I hear you. I remember vividly, like when I was younger, knowing full well what my dad did, always wanted to see his paychecks. Always wanted, because I was like, fuck, if he, you know, we've got this sort of lifestyle, he does this job, this is what he gets paid, and start to benchmark and work out what I wanted to try and do to try and emulate it or try and go past it. Or,
no.
You know, you look at footballers and other things, and all these things as a young lad who's, you know, hungry for success. I was trying to beg and steal and borrow any kind of information about what I should be doing and how I can maybe get there.
That's the entrepreneur in you.
Maybe.
Yeah. See, I never questioned it. I mean, when I went back to with my dad to do the Q&As, he'd get paid lovely. You know, you'd see bags of cash, and you know, I just never thought about it. I just thought, yeah, just go with the flow. I got a good life. I like my life. I like go skateboard, longboard, nice. You know, sun. We listen to my Guns N' Roses. Like my life was very chilled. My life was chilled, and I lived a very blessed life. I had a very blessed upbringing. Looking back.
It's good to hear. Did you appreciate all the church side of things, the faith?
Bit of hit and miss church for me growing up. I'm a man of faith. I believe in God. Like for me, I wouldn't have got to where I am if it wasn't for God. I'm a strong believer in, you know, God's plan. But I had my own issues with faith as I growing up due to religion. And religion is a problem. It was not a relationship. So for me, you got to remember, my school was the church and the church was the school. So Monday to Friday, the church, I'm at school, but it's the church. Then Friday to Sunday, you know, I'm still involved because it's still the church. So we're doing community work. We're doing, you know, Friday youth club, Sunday church, school church. So there's like, it's all, yeah, it was just church Monday to Sunday, Monday to Sunday every day.
So you mentioned that you come back over to the UK, stopping on the way to Australia, and you go to a boxing event. Had your dad exposed you to that environment before? What made your dad bring you along to a boxing event if it was a thing of the past for him? Because
my dad was coming back to the UK to do Q&As. So my dad still done Q&As, but he would go back with my mum. And then as we were doing the crossover to Australia, I had gone with my dad, and that was when, it was just wild. I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, like, you're my dad.
Dad's a ledge.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, you're my dad.
Did he embrace the fact that, you now were exposed to who he was before?
I think so, yeah. I was pretty overwhelmed. I was like, you're my dad. It was a real, like, surreal feeling. I can't even tell you, because I got so much pride out of him being my dad. That's
fucking special, man. Did you talk about it with him? How did it manifest?
No, I don't know. Like, I'm getting goosebumps now because for me, it was such a moment. It was such a moment because I was like, wow. Like you're my dad. I felt so blessed to have a dad who's so well respected. And it was, it was amazing.
You're 16 at this point.
15, 16, yeah.
He's done a good job to keep you protected from who he was until that age.
Yeah, you got to remember that in the church, his achievements and accomplishments were frowned upon.
So he just suppressed it all.
Yeah, definitely suppressed it all.
So then talk me through from that moment then getting over to Australia. Obviously things changed for you in terms of, maybe who you see yourself becoming. Did you know back then what you wanted to be, from the BMX?
Well, weirdly, I put a tweet out on Twitter on an old account, and which is it's just mental because I don't ever remember tweeting it. I don't ever remember wanting to be a world champion. But the username's Conor Benn, and it's I will be the next world champion in like 2014, 15 or whenever it was. And I looked back at that and I went, oh my gosh. So I must have thought I was going to be a world champion back then. But I weren't doing anything to think I was going to be a world champion. Like I weren't training, or I was like maybe messing around, hitting the pads with my dad.
So this is after that event?
Yeah. And then we moved to Sydney, and then Sydney I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a go.
Did you talk to him about giving it a go?
No, because it's Australia. Like boxing weren't big back then.
But was he like, yeah, cool,
we'll give it a go.
Really? Okay, yeah. Fine.
But and you can imagine how then a relationship hit another whole discipline route. It was like, I thought my dad was a disciplinarian before. Now it was like
new levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had he changed a little bit from that period with the church in Spain to who he was in Australia?
Yes, definitely. He had changed a lot. He had changed a lot because then we had joined a different church, and the church was more about grace and mercy and God forgiving. And it was really how you see God determine how you pray. And it's more of a relationship. Whereas the church in Mallorca was more, it was intense. It's very intense. Yeah.
Forgive my ignorance here. Does he get to make a choice of which church he goes to and how he?
Yeah. So we went to a different church in Australia, and it was a more relationship-based church. And the one in Spain was more heavy. It was really heavy.
So he could be himself more in Australia. Yeah,
definitely. He eased off. My whole family did. My whole family eased off, and it was more relaxed environment.
Cool. So in Australia, it's not really known for its, I suppose there's a few good boxers that have come out of there, but it's not known for it. How did your boxing career then start?
Yeah, weirdly. So I was training for maybe, a year. And then I just had an first amateur fight. I missed weight. I can't tell you how much my dad disciplined me. Yeah, he was like, "You're embarrassing." I was like, "Mate, I haven't even fought yet, and you're like carrying on like this." Yeah, it was so bad. He made me feel such shame.
What did you get wrong?
I was only like a couple pound over, but it was like my first ever fight. But he went in on me, made me feel like it was so bad, mate. He was like, yeah, you're an embarrassment. And I'm just sitting there like I'm like 16, 17. And it was a shame. I was humiliated. I felt embarrassed. I remember it now. He could have definitely, like looking back, he could have definitely like he couldn't have, but he could have definitely just been like, yeah, son, next time make weight. Nah, it weren't. He was like, mate, if you're going to do something, do it properly. You're embarrassing the Benn name. It's humiliating. I'm sitting there kind of, oh gosh, what have I signed up for?
I suppose if you embark on that journey, right, not to walk in his footsteps, but to go down the career path of where he's been, it's probably a huge, he knows there's going to be pressure placed on you, but also there's probably a bit of protecting the legacy that goes on for him. And so making weight in your first fight is quite crucial.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, it was, no, I guess I should have made weight, but still, it was hard. And I feel like the feeling I got was such a horrible feeling. I made sure that never happened again. See me now, never miss weight, because what he done then for me, it all prepares you for how you raise a kid and by what standards you set and what example you set depends on how they turn out, in my opinion. And for me, he was so strict with me. Anything less than perfect wasn't enough. And I know people go, oh yeah, you know, in today's society, you need to, you know, chill out and this and, you know, be more lapsidaisical with it. No, my dad was on job, and I wouldn't be the fighter I am today if my dad wasn't the way he was with me. So I am so grateful he was the way he was with me. Even though I didn't understand it, even our relationship was a stake early on in my career, not in my career, early on in my years. But he was shaping and moulding me for the world which I was going to enter, which is why I could leave home at 19 and be in this career, be in this industry and be the way I am and keep my feet on the ground and work as hard as I do.
Yeah, I think it's such an important perspective, and I think, you know, it rings true across all high performers that I speak to, and I think it's probably something that's dying out if we're not careful of how we do raise our kids, which we'll come on to later, and because I really want to understand your kind of interpretation of your experience as a kid and how that might impact your parenting. But let's just stay on that track of you with your first amateur fight. Did you know that there and then? So you sent that tweet out, you're in the boxing gym, you got your first amateur fight. Did you think, okay, this is now me, this is where I'm going with this? Because it's a stark difference getting in a ring with someone and punching them in the face, and you getting punched in the face, to listening to ADDC,
ACDC.
and cruising on your longboard and BMX.
Yeah, I stopped that as soon as I went to Australia. Stopped BMXing, longboarding. When I went to Australia, I sort of hit a real new part of my life. It was like, I don't know what happened. Genuinely, I can't even tell you what happened, but the old Conor Benn had gone. It was like, well, I don't know. I still to this day don't know what happened, but I hit another whole new section of my life.
You can't think of any self-work that you did, anything you saw, any experiences?
I think me seeing my dad in England being who he was it obviously had really hit me. I was like, bang, that's it. And that was then it opened a whole new door for me, and I was like, I want that.
How did you find boxing when you first started fighting?
I can't even tell you. I just felt like at home.
Really?
I enjoyed fighting. I love fighting. But I don't know how I've gone.
Did you scrap as a kid before then?
I've had a few scraps. Maybe 4 or 5. Not a lot. That might be a lot to some people, but it's not a lot when you're, you know, raised from a champion son. You know, not a lot. I wouldn't say I was a fighter, but looking back, I was always on smoke. Like, not in a bad way, but I was just always, who wants it? If you want it, you can get it. Like, not in a bad way, but I fancy my chances. So if you want it, like, no problem. I would never go looking for it, but if anyone wanted it, I'm here. We can throw hands. No problem. I don't have no qualms about it. And that was how I was. And then I just started, you know, training really hard in the gym. I loved training. I loved pushing my body to the limits. I loved fighting. And it was like just like a epiphany. Like the moment when I walked into the gym, it was like, I found what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing.
Were you working or anything outside of boxing at that age, 16, 17? Or
yeah, when I moved to Australia, I worked in retail, which was absolutely horrific. I lied on my CV and said I'd worked in Topshop and Armani in England. And I got the job there in Australia. But then the manager was in one day and she said I couldn't fold up a t-shirt. So
you're client facing, folding up t-shirts, working.
I couldn't fold up the t-shirt. Yeah, it was so bad because the manager was there. But obviously working in Topshop and Armani, you think you know how to fold up a t-shirt. So yeah, I didn't come into work the next day, and that was that. And then I worked in a warehouse, like with scaffolding warehouse, which was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the labour of it. Done painting and decorating for about 1.5 years, which I enjoyed. I got my certificate 3-4 on my master's degree in fitness with the Australian Institute of Sport, which I enjoyed. And then I wanted to go down the opening gym, the Benn Academy route. If I can't pursue my dad's legacy, someone's got to keep it alive. And that was my sort of mindset in opening a gym called the Ben Academy, which I obviously didn't do. And I had pursued more into boxing and went more that way.
What would have decided which way? Was it your capability? Was it someone going to, actually, you got to stab at this kid? Or was it you going, nah, this is actually what I want to do? Or was it confidence in what you were doing?
I went from Australia to England to stay with Ricky Hatton.
To box?
To box.
Did he send you over?
Yeah, my dad did. Was going to stay amateur and stay amateur. I don't remember when I was living in one of Ricky Hatton's houses in Hyde. My dad was only sending me 50 quid a week as well, which was mad because looking back now, but it's, again, all that installs discipline. And then I come down to Essex and I sparred a hot prospect at the time who was a great fighter, and I put him down in the gym. Never put anyone down before in my life. But you got to remember, I'm at the Marchon elite boxing gym in front of the right people. Put him down, and they said, "You're want you on the next AJ bill." And then bang, that was it. Rest was history.
Do you think some of those doors were open for you because of your dad? Or
100%, yeah, of course. Of course it was. I mean, I'm still my father's son, so I still have the DNA in me. You know, I'm a fighter. This is what I do. I believe the right doors open for you, the wrong doors close, and the right doors seem to have opened for me. All I had to do was work extremely hard, not get complacent, stay dedicated, stay ambitious, don't fall off the path, stay the course. That was all I had to do.
What was the time between you coming over to the UK to that dad's Q&A to you stepping out on the AJ bill?
So 16 to 19.
That's mental, isn't it?
But 16 to 17, I trained for about a year. Wasn't sure what I was doing. I just enjoyed the training. 17 to 18, I had my 22, 23 amateur fights. 18 to 19, I didn't box or train at all, which is, again, mental because I had life. Life was going on 18 to 19. 19, I turned professional.
Can you say anything more about what's going on 18 to 19?
Yeah, just being young. You got to remember I said I grew up and I never felt loved by my dad. I felt my dad didn't really like me, although he loved me. Obviously, I'm his son, and I got in trouble over there. And my dad had come to me and said to me, it's crazy because you got to remember, me and my dad's relationship was fragile. And he had come to me and said, son, I love you and you're going to be okay. And for me, that was when everything changed in my dad. Like, I could cry now because yeah, he does love me.
And that was at the start, at the end of that year stint, at the end of it or at the start? So 18 to 19?
It's the start.
So he tells you he loves you and you stopped boxing for a year?
I couldn't box.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't box at the time.
Right.
Because I couldn't get to the gym in time. There was loads of stuff going on. And yeah, and then for me, it was like our relationship was instantly on the mend.
And then when you get to that stage where you can box, he just says, right, let's get you over to the UK and let's give this thing a proper go.
Yeah. So 17 to 18, I was coming on strong. I was growing. You know, you could really see boxing was for me and how quick I improved from 17 to 18. 18 to 19, I didn't box. 19, moved to England and turned professional.
Do you regret, would you done anything differently in terms of your amateur career versus your professional? Right? Because people talk a lot about this kind of amateur pedigree and having those fights and what that then means to their professional. And I find it difficult to understand why people still stay with the Olympics long and then they have a short professional career. And
yeah, listen, each to their own. I mean, I never had any plans of doing a lot as an amateur. I really wanted to go pro. As soon as I started really coming along, my style was more suited for the pros.
I'm guessing it's more lucrative to turn pro, the commercial opportunities are bigger.
Commercial, financial, you know, just climbing the pro ranks, being world champion. I never had that dream as an amateur. So for me, it was always I always had it in my head to go pro. Some people just have it in their head to stay amateur. Some people stay amateur for too long. It's not the sports night and day. You know, I'll probably say I wouldn't have been the greatest amateur. But then you see great amateurs come pros and aren't really that great.
Is that because it's more sort of, it seems more kind of technical Whereas pros is a little bit more like aggression, all that other stuff.
Aggression, power. If you ain't got power in the pros, if you ain't got power in the pros, it's a long night. It's a long night all the time. And then when you get to the highest level, it really does come down to, the real small inches. Like, you have a lot of amateurs who have turned pro who I thought would do things, ain't done anything, and aren't really that great professionals. Whereas I've had limited amateur background, not even half of what these amateurs have that turn over, but yeah, I'm done way better as a pro and doing better as a pro. So for me, it was a matter of adopting into the pro game early on. When I come down and train with Tony Sims, it was constant drills. I can't tell you how many drills, day in, day out, doing the same thing. I can't tell you how boring it was. But I knew just listen. He's taught me everything I know. He hasn't taught me everything he knows. And I feel like what a lot of fighters do now is they think they're all down a bag of chips. They don't listen to instruction. They ain't humble, For me, my team is my everything. I trust my team with my life. That's my dad. That's my trainer. That's my agent. That's my manager. That's my lawyer. That's my promoter. That's my. We're all on the same goal. We all have the same vision, and I trust my team. Listen, you lot take care of that. You lot handle all that. I'll do my part, and I always do my part, and I will always do my part. And for me, that's the way I am. You lot handle that. I promise you I'll do my part. You just do yours. And that way there's no weak link. We're all on the same page. Everyone knows that has their station, and everyone's doing what they need to do in order for me to be the best athlete possible, which is why I've progressed, which is why I've developed and become the fighter I am today. People would have said, if I said I'm going to be top 3 in the world, back then, people would have said you're off your head. But
I remember watching your first fight. I've watched the majority of your fights.
It's bad, wasn't it?
You're just exciting though. That it's still exciting, and I think that's what the sort of armchair fan of boxing needs. It needs like people that are characters and have got personality.
I'd rather lose an exciting fight than win a boring fight. Because the reality is, did you even win? Don't care if you won 12 of the rounds. Did you really win though? So for me, it's about value for money. It's about giving people blood, giving people knockouts. Even if my fights go 12 rounds, someone's still getting punched up. Even if it still goes 12 rounds, someone's still getting a beating. And that's what it's about. And I love fighting. Value for money. No one can, listen, people remember the fights and how they made them feel. I want to go into a fight, people be like, nah, gotta watch it. Gotta tune in. Because Conor's vulnerable, can be vulnerable. He's gone down before. But he'll get back up and he'll stick it on the geezer. That's where I'm like, value for money is more important. I'm not too asked about my record. It's about people going, yeah, I want to tune into that Conor Benn fight. Regardless of who it's against. I'm on all smoke. And, people say, you got to remember my dad lost to Michael Watson, lost to Eubanks, lost to Collins. But who's the most remembered out of all of them? Who's the most loved? Because he fights with his heart on his sleeve. He fights for the country. And that's how I feel. I feel like I carry that responsibility to do Breton proud.
Yeah, that's power. There's nothing worse than fucking staying up for a fight, paying for it, and then just going to bed thinking, what have I done?
Exactly. So that's how I feel. Like, see me, I'll go into the cinema and I'll get about 20 minutes into the movie. If the movie's no good, I promise you on my life, I'll walk out. And like, I took my missus and her brother out to watch a movie. Got about 20 minutes into the movie. Guess what I've done?
Oh, I'm gone.
I went for a run. I went for an hour run. Come back. That's the way exactly. So yeah, I don't know how she puts up with me. Just even saying that, it's quite bad. And it took them both out to cinema. I thought, this movie's no good. But I'm like that. I won't stay out. I don't even watch the boxing. I don't even watch boxing because I invest in people's character. I invest in people. I like who they are, what they stand for, what they represent, over their ability. Whether they're, C-level, B-level fighters, I would go to a fight to watch someone far down on the undercard and then I'd leave. Because if I'm invested in someone, invested in their character and who they are. And I think character matters as well. I'm not just a fighter. People see me as a man. People have seen me grow over the years. People seen, you know, the hurdles I've had to face, the adversity I've had to go through. Even before this whole situation I'm going through right now, still gone through adversity. In the ring, out the ring, see me grow. People were invested in me as a man, in my journey. And I think that's more valuable than me turning up on fight night and winning, you know, 12 boring rounds.
I think it's a really interesting point there, that you don't, obviously you care about your record, but your record comes after the entertainment factor and just like giving your best on your all. Because some people are very protective over that record.
Listen, I'm not asked. There's no one taking my spot. There's no one that fights like me. There's no one who brings the energy like me. There's no one who wants it like me. When I'm on smoke, I'm on smoke. You know, people doubted me from the start of my career. People had, you never do this, you never do that, you never do this. Well, now what? Now what? What you lot got to say now? What, top 3? I ain't even fought in 2 years. And I got, you know, the top 5s in the world calling me out. Americans. So what now? You know, what have you got to say now? And I developed that chip on my shoulder where it was like, okay, he's going to struggle against him. He's going to struggle against him. All right, well, cool. He just got banged out in 2 rounds. Now what? That was my chip. That was my, you lot said I can't do it. You lot put limits on me. You got them limits on yourself. You ain't got limits on me. Because I'm limitless. There is no ceiling to my career. You lot keep trying to put a ceiling in, and I keep breaking through it every single time. And that was my chip.
Why do you think people do that in the British media?
I don't know. I don't know, but they're notorious for it. I'm one of your own. Because
you're right. Like, everyone talks about your old man so fondly, so fondly. Put him on a pedestal amongst all those big fighters. Why would you not do the same for his son?
Because he's retired. And that's what it is. If my dad was in this day of social media, I've even seen comments on my dad's page, and it's like, how are you not even talking that talk? Do you know what I mean? Because back in it, social media has now allowed everyone to have access to say whatever they want. The reality is, I'm not going to allow someone to come in my front living room, give me a slap and get away with it. But now they can. Because social media is this tool where, you know, the weak can comment. Anyone can comment, you know, and not that it makes any difference to me, because I don't need you to like me. I don't have to like you, but I also don't care if you like me. If everyone liked me, I'm doing something wrong. Or you stand for nothing because you keep trying to please him, please her, please. The reality is, social media is the minority. And I think in this day and age, a lot of people in the limelight, a lot of people in the media think social media is the build. It's the minority. The reality is, because there's everyday people out there. There's everyday people out there who don't feel the need to comment. But it's always people who have hate or jealousy, have vendettas against you, or, you know, whatever it is.
How have you built your sort of mindset towards the fame and the pressure of all of that stuff?
I've got to a stage where I don't really care. I fight. I'm a fighter. Everything else is nonsense. I battle the same demons as you. I battle the same demons as everybody else. I'm human. I bleed the same blood. There's no difference between me and you. There's no difference between me and anybody. You know, I have my imperfections. I have my perfections. I have my bad days, good days, great days, terrible days. You know, my life ain't any different from anybody else's, but I feel like with fame, you're not allowed to have a bad day. You know, you've always got to be on form. I've never turned down a picture in my life, but I can assure you now there's been days I really haven't wanted to. But I can't have a bad day. You know, because
do you read the comments on things?
Used to, obviously you do, but then you get older and you go, why would you let this geezer ruin your day? Like, why would you let him ruin your day? Who's got time to comment on anything anyway? They ain't my people anyway. If you've got time to comment on something, you're not my people. Why am I listening to you? And then God forbid you click on their profile. God forbid you click on their profile and you're like,
it makes sense now.
yeah, it makes sense now. Or it don't make sense. You know, whichever way you look at it, I sit there and I go, yeah, no, mate, no chance.
Does your wife, like, she get impacted by any of that stuff?
Nah, she probably dealt with it better than me, to be honest. She's very cool, neutral, calm. Opposite to me. She's very opposite to me.
Let's go back to that first fight because we're getting carried away. So you're on the AJ bill, you do your first fight.
Yeah.
You get your first taste of blood. Is it like, yeah, I've made the right choice here? Like, what's your immediate thoughts post that first professional fight?
I can't tell you how much I was shitting myself. I can't tell you when I'm standing there and there is 20,000 and I'm just come on just before AJ. I can't tell you how unprepared I was, because you're standing there. You remember 17 to 18, I'm boxing in sheds in Australia and like in front of 20 people. 18 to 19, I haven't fought. 19, I'm standing there at the O2 going, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? You can't actually prepare yourself for that. You can't. So for me, it was like, ready or not, here I come. That's my walkout tune is, I'm here now. I'm here now. I'm doing the walk now. Got in there and then, knocked him out of a body shot in the first round. And then Ricky Hatton was sitting there and I was like, that's for you, Ricky. Because that was his signature shot, skip, rip, body shot. And then I just said, that was for you, Ricky. And then I thought, let's see how far we can go. Journey started, let's see how far we can go. And like I was on smoke, I was just like excited. It was like everything was exciting. You know, and I started bowling about in my CLA, my 220. And then, you know, I bought my first watch. You know, I thought it was all out in a bag of chips, loved life. And then as the game gets serious, you realise this ain't fun and games no more. This is for real. This is serious. This is it. And then I started to slowly become more and more dedicated. I was dedicated. My level of dedication now, I would say I wasn't dedicated at all.
Probably it's more the professionalism, right? It's the professionalism starts to rise.
Yeah, I wasn't dedicated. For me, I weren't living the life right. I was out and about hovering in between training sessions to go and see my friends. I was excited. I was earning my own bit of money. I had my own place. I was like, yeah, Dad, yeah. See me now, yeah. You know, Dad's like, Con, sort yourself out, mate. Sort yourself out. You got to remember, I've gone through this. My family all live in Australia still. So I'm here at 19 on my own. I was in Selfridges more than I was anywhere else. Wasting money. Just buying. I think I had a pair of Valentinos in every single colour. You know, so for me, it was like just living young.
Where did the high life, all that luxury kind of stuff, where'd that come from? Because it doesn't sound like you were brought up with all that.
Not at all. I was so far brought up the opposite.
Is it the fact you didn't have it that now you could?
No, I didn't even know. I moved to Essex. That's what happened. Yeah, that was it. I moved to Essex. That was what happened. Montclair, you know, I think it was Montclair, Versace, Valentinos. That was like, I used to train in Valentinos.
Moving from Ricky Hatton's up north down to Matchroom.
Big difference.
Was that the right decision?
Yes.
Who instigated that decision? Whose call was it?
I'd probably say mine. My family's East London. I didn't belong up in Manchester. As in, I just felt like a fish out of water. You got to remember, I had no family there. I couldn't understand, just about understand the way they spoke up north then. You got to remember, I've come from Spain to Sydney to then up north. Yeah, imagine. Not a clue. Couldn't understand a word they were saying at that time. And then it was like I had no family there, so I used to live on my own. So when Ricky had that, you had Sam Taffy Evans, you had Ruben Arrowsmith and Nathan Gorman were three fighters I used to live with up there. And then they'd go back and see their families while I'm stuck in the house on my own over the weekend. It wasn't good for me.
The preparation side of things, you mentioned the dedication and professionalism, like preparing for a fight in the fight camps. Talk me through that kind of process, because you see you don't miss a 10K a day.
No.
You can tell you're into your S&C. A mutual kind of friend, I guess, Dan Lawrence, I know through the fitness space. I know he was your S&C for a period of time. So S&C, and you can tell in just, you know, your physique, the way you train, in the ring, how explosive you are, how well conditioned you are. You can tell that like the training, the preparation side of things is well taken care of.
Yeah.
Is that something you've learned along the way?
I think for me, up until, I don't know if you know about the fight where I got put down early on in my career. I got put down and I had just fought in New York and I'd gone out, you know, partying, just fought in New York. I was just, 50 Cent knows who I was because 50 Cent was there. He's gone, I know who you are, man. I was like, do you know what, Ton? I've cracked it, mate. I've made it. And went out to One Oak in New York, partied, and then within maybe 3 weeks, I had to come back and Dave said, "Oh, we'll get you this opponent." I was like, "All right, sweet, cool. I'll just knock him out." I had my tickets booked to Miami, ready for the after party, and then, boy, did I get hit hard. Got put down in the first round. Got put down twice in the first round, and then I was like, well, fighting for my life. And then I put him down in round 5 and round 6 to win the fight. Close fight. Very close fight. Could have gone either way. And for me, that was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that was when I looked in the mirror, I said, and then I felt humiliated. I felt shame. I felt that humiliation times 10 when I missed weight in my first amateur bout. This ain't good enough. What do you think that's good enough? Oh, are you happy with where you're at? Are you cool with this? Are you cool with being here? Is this your standard? Is this where this ends now? And for me, that was fear. For me, that was scary. It's been a few times everyone finds what makes them motivate and what motivates them and what gets them going. Mine is fear. Have you got it tattooed somewhere? Yeah, I have on my neck, fear is a lie. But fear is what gets me going. The fear of losing. Yes, I love winning, but I fear losing more. And for me, it's false evidence appearing real. I always imagined me getting put down in a fight after that. I always imagined a fight being that tough, every fight. The reality is no fight's been that hard. There's been no fight that's been that hard. But for me, I function off the fear of losing. I could lose this fight if I don't work hard. I could lose this fight if I don't run. I could lose this fight if I don't apply myself. That's scary for me. It's a scary thought because then I feel like only I can let myself down. If I haven't given 100%, which I didn't, it's only you who's going to get in the way of you.
So in an ideal situation then, right, what does that perfect fight camp look like? How far out from you had 3 weeks before that fight. How far out were you going to go and take yourself away and live in monk mode?
Well, I was about a stone and a half overweight because I'm in New York. I'm partying, I'm eating donuts. There's a Dunkin' Donuts on every street corner.
You stayed there for 3 weeks after the fight?
No, a week. I was there for a week. But then I've come back, had media requirements for 2-3 days as well.
Yeah.
It was just the whole period was a mess. But I thought this guy's a bum anyway. Like, he can't come near me, he can't touch me. And then, boy, did he touch me. Yeah. And then you learn, don't you? That's why you can't ever overlook journeyman. I can't even say he was a journeyman because he fought then a British champion and gave him a really hard fight. And then I was like, okay, he wasn't bad. You know, but then I've got demons in my head telling me, well, you're obviously not good enough because how are you even having close fights with these sort of people? So then I had to rematch him and then beat him every round and put him down a few times. But there's that vulnerability there that you're always then conscious of. So you make sure that you go above and beyond. Like my training, no one can talk to me about work ethic.
Talk me through a training camp. How long is it?
Right now,
ideal work.
Ideal. So it's a big mega fight. You would say 12 weeks.
And you're going to take yourself away from the family? You're going abroad?
Yeah, I do all of that. I remove myself from the family. Yeah.
How many hours a day are you going to train?
It's not how many hours. It's about the quality of the work, which for me is more important than just training for the sake of training. It's about the quality, and meeting the sessions that I need to meet. Sparring's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The intensity changes throughout the 12 weeks. The first 4 weeks, just do pad work, bag work, sprint work, getting back in the rhythm of training. The following 8 weeks is 1 spar session a week. Then when you hit around the 7-6 week mark, it's where it's intense, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sparring. But also on the Monday and the Wednesday, I'm up at Monday and the Friday I'm up at 3 a.m, 4 a.m running, and it's grim when it's cold, but you get it done. And then I go back home, go back to bed, spar at like 1, 2 p.m, and then just rest for the day, then sprint work on the Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, and then S&C on the Wednesday and the Saturday.
Because there's like in boxing, there's the old school kind of like just banging miles on the road, just fucking because everyone's always done it. And there's now this new kind of age and sports science has come.
I still believe in that.
In both, a blend of both.
A blend of both, but I still believe in if it ain't broken, don't fix it. I think long runs for me make a massive difference in your mental space. See, when I'm running at 3, 4 in the morning, it just does something to you. It just does something to you. I know I'm a fast twitch fighter and, you know, I'm explosive. Why are you doing hour runs for? Why are you doing hour and 30-minute runs? It does something to my head. And if it's been good enough for all these fighters of old, it's good enough for me. But I'll still incorporate my sprint works, don't get me wrong. But there's something mentally keeping your feet going for that long period of time where you just have time to process and think. Have you tried running without music?
Yeah, I do it quite regularly.
Okay. Yeah. Very rare people do a long run without music. It really does allow you to get into the run. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. Really delve into it. Sometimes you do the hour and a half and you're like, touch to an hour and a half because you're so lost in your thoughts.
Well, I use a lot of my running for that, right? I don't really get many pockets of time in my day to really think about stuff. So for me, running, obviously it's serving the purpose for the ultras, but it's served as a nice time just to gather thoughts and filter out what I'm thinking.
I think for me, the running for me is, I never used to be overly keen on running. You know, I used to run my quickest. So when I first started off, my quickest 5K was 30 minutes. How mad is that? When I first turned pro up until like my 6th fight, my 5Ks were 30 minutes. That was my 5Ks. And then now you see, when I probably hit about 24, 25, the contrast is night and day. I think I'm driving around in a Rolls Royce, got a beautiful house, got a 911, got a beautiful son. So for me, I was so worried about coming complacent. That was when I started running at 3, 4 in the morning. That was where that come from. I never used to do it before, but I thought, I'm too happy. I'm too content to be the fighter I was. And for me, it was such a paranoia in my head. It was such a, like I've actually genuinely surpassed what I thought I'd ever have anyway, you know, and I worried. It was a big fear for me, getting complacent. It was a massive fear for me. So my standard to remind myself and confirm to me that I'm still hungry was getting up at 3, 4 in the morning and doing my runs. That was you're still hungry.
We've got a concept we talk about, myself and a few of the boys here, called Kill the Clone, where you're trying to kill the person that you were yesterday, right? So the person that you are yesterday is your benchmark. That's the best version of yourself. Yeah. So the next day you've got to try and better him. And we do things like, you know, I don't remember the last time I got up at 3 to run, but 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, get up and run, because it's those little bits of standards and like those ways in which you can try and get a competitive advantage on who you were before that is going to unlock new levels for you.
Yeah, yeah. No limits. That's really what it is. It's like, no one's doing that. Because if you were me, you wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. If you come from my shoes and you walked in my shoes, you wouldn't be fighting the way I fight or doing the training I'm doing. You only fight because you got no choice. You fight because you come from the ends. You fight because you got nothing to lose. I've got everything to lose. You know, so let's flip the coin and change the narrative. You ain't got to come out of the mud to get it. You ain't got to come out of the mud to be a great fighter. Any sphere, any industry you're in, irrelevant of the upbringing, the background, it's in you. You're born with it. And for me, that's where, you know, people say, oh, you're silver spoon. Silver spoon who? I could be dotting in Australia in my dad's mansion, you know, with the shrimps on the old barbie, relaxing by the pool. What are you talking about? I'm up running at 3 a.m. down South End where it's freezing cold. What are you talking about, silver spoon? I do the hardest sport in the world. Don't come and talk to me about silver spoon, please. You know, I've always got to have this chip. I've always got to have this chip and this thing on my shoulder where it's like, yeah, you what? You what?
I think that intrinsic motivation, or like trying to find that motivation when it's not there, is incredibly important.
I'm not always motivated, don't get me wrong, especially with this whole case going on. I've not always been motivated, but it's not always about being motivated, because motivation don't get you anywhere without discipline. Loads of people lack discipline. think it's going to be easy. Loads of people lack discipline. And I can't believe how many people do lack discipline or work ethic. Like work ethic and discipline. If you have some sort of work ethic and discipline in this day and age, you're a savage. Shit, you got to just have a little bit of work ethic and discipline. You're a savage in this society. You know, people don't understand my intensity. People don't understand why I am the way I am, so driven and hungry and disciplined. And my work ethic's, you know, unmatched. No one can talk to me about work ethic because I push the boundaries, every day. You know, so for me, that's just the way I am. But if you have any sort of work ethic, discipline, motivation can only get you so far.
Those 12 weeks then, so we've done 4 weeks of pad work, intensifying into sparring. Is there anything around your sleep and your nutrition that you're doing differently in those 12 weeks to outside of it? Because what I find, you know, it sounds like building up for a big fight. It's kind of similar to how we would periodize like training phases, right? In the gym, where you've got, you know, a 12-week cycle and you're going through some low level kind of building some muscular endurance, and you start to intensify and you're building some strength. It's kind of how people build muscle and build strength throughout the year. Is what you're doing, because you see a lot of boxers in those 12 weeks, they can dial in and they take themselves away from all distractions, and you know they end up in really good physical condition, but then they fucking fall off post-fight and then they live in a very different life away from that. Are you someone that can, the training, the nutrition, the sleep within those 12 weeks, you can emulate that throughout a 52-week period, a 52-week year?
It hasn't been, but as I've got older, it's sort of become, you have to, listen, there's time to be young. There's a time to be young. You know, and then you realise that it ain't good for you. It ain't good for you putting on the weight, you know, going out, partying, it's not good for you. Do you know what I mean? I know I'm only 27.
Well, it's a time to be young, but it's a short career for you guys, right? In the context.
Exactly, but you pay the consequences later on. You know, so for me, it's now got to a stage where boxing has become my life. Boxing is everything. Training is everything. It's just that I have to train every day. Mentally, I have to train every day. I always used to ask my dad, why do you train so hard still? He's going, Conor, I need to train. Like, I can't not train. Like, for my own, you know, mental sanity. You know, and I now get that. I get that completely, because I need to train, otherwise I fall off. I need to be on the ball. I have to hit targets every single day. Bar
the sparring then within that, when we're in training camp, is there any differences with how you train outside of a training camp to when you train in a training camp? Is it the same sort of mileage, same sort of sessions, same strength work?
No, completely different. I don't do no sparring. Outside of training camp, I don't spar.
So bar the spar, is there any other?
Spar. S&C, it's more relaxed. There's less, come on, let's hit the PB today. Less smoke, but still smoke.
Yeah.
But less smoke.
The right amount of smoke.
Yeah. Less smoke, still smoky. But, you know, it's more like, I'll do 10K for standard. I'll push myself. You got to remember, for me, it's very different now because I'm still going through my case. So even if I don't want to train, I still train. You know, even if I do 10K in, 36 to 42 minutes, can vary. If I'm not motivated, I can do it in an hour. Get it done. That's where discipline plays a factor. I'm running there just going, really not feeling it today. I just got bad news. Don't know what's happening. Get it done. Get it done, because the discipline and the mindset you form now, that will carry on into camp, out of camp. So it's really just about, it's just not acceptable. This is the standard.
Those times you referenced 5K, 10K and stuff, they clearly mean something to you, which is great to see. Do you benchmark some of those strength markers and running markers? Are they things that you can use as tangible ways to know that you're getting stronger, getting fitter?
Strength, I'm always a savage. Like I lift with intent. Like I love lifting. I love the whole veins popping in the neck and all that. That's me. And do you know what I've recently got into? High rocks. I've recently got into high rocks.
Was it Mallorca?
Yeah.
I saw you training.
Mate, I love it. I can't believe how much I love it.
The wall ball techers was good, man. From what I saw, it was good.
It weren't too bad. I mean, it weren't too bad. It was my first time doing wall balls, the video. But I just love the intensity of it. I love pushing your body to the limit. I love how hard you can make it for yourself. I love the competition. So I might even compete in high rocks. In my off seasons, I might even go, honestly, I'm not even joking, father and son combo, because my dad would love it. Father and son in High Rocks. If any of you lot, through the age category, for 27 to 60, if any of you lot want the smoke, you lot can get it in High Rocks too. Nobody's safe.
I'd love to see the Ben fucking boys.
Yeah, I just kill. My dad's a savage, you know.
I bet.
When I mean he's a savage, he leads by example. We set the standard for me. The standard is so high that I can't settle for anything less. You know, the life I live now is not even close to where the standard is.
Who's writing your training programs for you? Who's setting those standards when it comes to what you do?
I've got a team who write out my programs for the camp. I follow it. I'm the soldier here. So I know people go, oh yeah, no, but you're this and you're that and you're without you, there's not them. The reality is I'm the soldier here. I'm the student, you know, and I do as my trainer says. I do as my trainers say, you know, whether I feel like it or not. And that's where you see a lot of fighters today, you know, keep switching trainers, keep changing this. I don't believe in that. Yeah,
I've heard you talk very fondly about Tony Sims.
Yeah.
And how you stay with him till the end.
Yeah, my love for Tony is I've done my most important years with him. I've come to England with nothing, a little rucksack on my back. You know, my dad gave me 50 quid a week. To them negotiating my first contract, which was 1,250 a month. I had about 800 quid left over by the end of the month, which is mental. And I went out and I bought a Tommy Hilfiger jacket, a red night tracksuit and a gold chain. I don't know if the gold chain was actually gold, but I bought it. But so for me, that's where I started. So then me picking up my train in a Rolls Royce, driving back to my mansion with my 2 kids running around. My kid running around. So I've done that whole journey, but don't get me wrong, I've broken my jaw. I couldn't even pay for the training camp. Tony's paid for the camp for me. Negotiated my first contracts, to then negotiating £1 million contracts commercially. So it's like I've done the whole journey with them. I come here, didn't have no family here. Now I've got 2 kids, a missus, a couple mortgages, a few mortgages. So it's like I've done all of that with him in my corner, as well as my dad. Obviously, my dad's in Sydney. He's enjoying life, retirement, you know. But Tony and my dad go way back as well. So for me, it really is like my second home. Tony took me into his house when, you know, I first come down from Manchester. Without that man dedicating and applying himself to me as much as he had, I wouldn't be where I am. He invested so much time into me in hope that one day we get here. He saw it in me before I even saw it in myself. I've cried in the gym. I've broke down in the gym. When I mean broke down in the gym, he's had to throw a towel over my head in front of a bunch of lads, and I've just sobbing, going, Tony, I can't do this, mate. I can't do this. I'm struggling. Really found it really hard with the pressures of the media, bad performances. I'm like, I just can't do this. And you know, can't listen. Just keep going, mate. I've retired about 5 times.
How do you? I wanted to ask how you rest and recover, but how do you overcome things like that? How do you switch off from it? How do you
keep it moving? Forget how you feel. Forget how you feel, because you ain't always gonna feel great. Sometimes you're going to feel like you just can't go on. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're not good enough. Sometimes you can feel like, you know, fearing failure. You talk about fearing failure and that holding people back. You can imagine me, what the level of fear of failure was. It was embarrassment to the Ben name. It was embarrassing that I'm put on this pedestal and I can't fulfill what the people demand from me. It was embarrassing that I had a bad performance. It was embarrassing. It's just not good enough. That's the standard you have to set for yourself in order to be successful. It's not a happy place to be. I don't think I can be in a happy place until I'm retired, because that's what drives me. It's that fear of, oh man, I ain't lost yet. No doubt I'll face that hurdle. Not going to be delusional and sit here and go, I'm going to retire undefeated. Because when you want to go up against the best and you want to challenge the best in, 60-40 fights, and when I mean 60-40, I mean in favour to them, you're up against it.
Who you motivated to want to fight? Who do you want to fight?
Any of the top dogs. Anyone that anybody says I can't beat. Anybody says I can't beat. All right, cool, no problem. Watch me. For you, it's impossible. That's why you are where you are, sitting there commenting what you're commenting. For you, it's impossible. For you, it's hard. For you, I can't do it. For you, you can't do it. Don't reflect your fears on me. I'll do anything I want to do. I can achieve anything I want to achieve. Do you know why? Because I'm Conor Benn. And that's my mindset. And
is it the belief in your God-given talent and your work ethic that makes you that makes you speak, that allows you to speak like that on other people?
More work ethic and discipline, because it's a discipline and work ethic.
What if they're working just as hard?
Well, they're obviously not, because they've got time to sit there and comment shit on my page.
No, I'm talking about other boxers.
Oh yeah, they're working hard. Yeah, no, they're definitely working hard. It's the 1%. It's the 1%. But then when it comes down to fight night, it's all about this. Who's there more? And that's when it comes down to nobody talk to me about anything external. If there's an issue, it can wait. If anything happening with the kids, it can wait. When I mean I'm married to the game. Boxing is my everything. I ain't come here to settle for anything less than the highest heights of boxing. So don't come and distract me with anything. But anybody, from friends, family, I don't care. It's selfish. You have to be selfish in this game, because you know whose ass is on the line? Mine. Not yours, not yours, not yours. My ass is on the line. My health is on the line. Because you miss one shot, you pay the price. And for me, that's how serious this game is. I don't muck about with this game. I don't play around with this game. You know, I've witnessed firsthand what happens when you muck about with this game. You know, from brain damage injuries. I've seen it firsthand. You know, so don't come and talk to me about, nonsense. I'm invested. I'm fully involved. I'm 100% into the game, because I know my opponent is.
Would you watch your opponent once you know who they are?
No, I don't watch my opponent, no. Because I ain't worried about what he does. People go, oh yeah, that's stupid. I don't care. It's stupid for you. If you don't want to, it's not what makes me tick. I'll focus on what I can do.
Will Tony watch him?
He'll watch him. Tony will watch him, study him, going, Con, this is the shot. He'll throw this, he'll do this, he'll do that. I'll listen, I'll take it in. But what we'll do is, over the 12 weeks, we'll drill the habit in. You know, he throws a lazy jab, slip right hand. All camp. Slip right hand, double the left hook, roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are and then come fight night, bang. It's like everything just comes together, you know, and it's beautiful when you do it in sparring. There's been times for a whole camp I haven't done it. Come fight night, bang, executed that exact shot. So it ain't always gonna come off, but it will come off eventually. Just practice, drills. Come fight night, if something changes, like one of my opponents was orthodox for the first fight, then second fight, come out southpaw the whole fight. Never fought southpaw before in my life. Yeah, it threw me off. But all this is learning.
How serious is the beef in the build up to a fight with someone? You have to build it. You have to create it from something.
What it is for me is, what, you think you can beat me? You genuinely think you can beat me? But a few people I know they know they can't beat me. I know you can't beat me. I know you're talking the talk, and well done to you. But I know you can't beat me, because I'm looking you in your eye and I can see you can't beat me. But I know that. And then there's some people you look at and you go, all right, cool. You think you're taking food out of my kid's mouth? You think you're taking this away from my family? Because it's either my kids or your kids. I can promise you now, it ain't gonna be my kids. I can promise you now. I bet my life on it ain't going to be my kids. And that's how I get. People go, oh, why are you so aggressive? It's sporting for the faint-hearted. It's either you or me. It's either your family or mine. And I'm going to do my job. It ain't going to be my family. I can promise you now. And then I get a chip on my shoulder, and then if they want to go, then we can go. Right now, we ain't even got to wait to find out. We can go now if you want. And that's just what makes me work. That's just how it's just what I've developed. It's just the way I've become. I mean, he may not have even said anything. he may not even be thinking that. He may just thinking, it's great to be. I don't care. You did say that. I know you're thinking it, even though you didn't. And then he may not even be thinking that. But for me, it's just personal. It ain't business. Fuck business. This ain't business. This is personal. This is personal. It comes. This is as personal as it gets. You're trying to ruin my legacy. You're trying to take food out of my kid's mouth. You're trying to hurt me. You're trying to embarrass me. You're trying to knock me out. That's personal.
apart from your old man, is there anyone currently in the game that you respect, or not respect's not the right word, I'm sure you respect a lot of fighters, that you're inspired by?
I respect every fighter gets in the ring. I'm probably inspired by... I wouldn't say inspired. I wouldn't say anyone in the game really inspires me. I'll probably say I love fighters. Real fighters who are really about fighting, who really live the life, who really want to fight. Boxing today's become more of a business than it was back then. And to get a good payday, you have to be world champion. Today it doesn't work that way. The game has shifted so much in the past few years, where it's now you got YouTubers earning more money than boxers. Professional YouTube boxers were earning more money than professional boxers.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not asked, I'm getting paid. But then you've got fighters who are in 50-50 fights who aren't getting paid. But they're in, life and death fights where you watch it and you go, oh, that ain't great. And getting paid, less than quarter than what these YouTubers are getting paid for 4-rounders. But then I sort of look at that and go, well, the boxers should understand marketing then, not relying on promoters to promote them, because no one's going to promote you like you. No one's going to want you to win as bad as you want you to win, and for you to get the bag. No one's going to want it more than you. So why are you relying on everybody else to do that job when you're perfectly capable of doing it yourself? So marketing's everything. Marketing, clout, PR is everything in this day and age.
Have you deliberately built your personal brand like this?
I know, I'm just like this. I'm genuinely just like this. I can't. Thank God I am the way I am, which is the way I am. Some people find their niche and capitalize on it. People, say I'm the Nepo kid, or I'm angry, or I don't even care. I am what I am. You love me or hate me, it don't make no difference to me. It is what it is. I would say that I'm as humble as they come. I would say that I work extremely hard. I would say that, I work harder than most, especially in my shoes. And for me, I just love to fight, and I do this for the country. And I'm not trying to appeal to anyone. I'm not trying to be fake. You have to be who you are. My dad once said to me, the higher the monkey climbs, the more he shows his batty. So yeah. So for me, that's definitely something that's sat with me, because just be who you are. Listen, I ain't perfect. I'm far from perfect. I promise you now, I'm far from perfect. But I try my best to be. I try my best to be the best role model. I try my best to be a role model to the kids.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. How's becoming a dad impacted you?
Changed my life completely. I probably say as my sons got older, I've got a better understanding of what being a dad actually is. Like, I pray my son loves me the same way I love my dad. I pray my son loves me as much as I love my dad. Although my dad had his demons, although my dad had his flaws, although my dad made a million mistakes, he's my hero. And I love him I love him so much, my dad. He's my everything, my dad is. So for me, just being the best dad I can be. My son don't care if I'm world champion or not. My son don't care how much money I got. My son don't care how much what anybody else thinks. I'm just my dad to my son.
There's a huge amount of selfishness that needs to take place, right, for you to perform in the sport. It's life and death for you.
Yeah.
Does the pressure of that, being selfish, does it play on your mind a little bit with time away from the kids, your wife?
No, because I'm there a lot. I'm present a lot. I haven't been present mentally a lot, which is something I've had to work on, because your kids just want your attention. They want your love. They want to feel love. Like, I'm so soft with my son, which is crazy, because the upbringing I've had, you'd think I wouldn't. I am so soft with my son. I can't tell you how soft I am with him. Like, I love him to pieces. But just being present for me is so key and so important. I've had to use these 2 years to really focus on spending time with my family, and really know I'm never going to get this time back. But when I'm in camps, my son sees what I'm doing. I'm still home. If I do camp here, I'll go gym, I'll go home, go back to bed. I'll spend some time with him, then go back to bed. Or if I'm up at 5 a.m, I'll get him when he's waking up, spend the morning with him. So Victoria gets a good sleep. You know, have breakfast with him, watch some cartoons with him, play with him a little bit, and then I'll go back to bed. So I'm always there, but he'll know I'm going to bed because he knows my routine. He knows I go to gym and I go back to bed. He knows my routine. It's just I go gym and I go back to bed every day. Even now I do it. I can sleep about 1 hour, 2 hours after training every morning.
So you're waking up first thing,
train, and I go straight back to bed.
Do you find it easy to sleep straight after training?
Yeah, mad. After the coffee and everything, yeah. It's mental, I know. But it's just the routine I've built. And even out of camp, it's the same routine. I wake up, train, first thing 10K or boxing, whichever one. And then I go back to bed straight after. And then I'll nap for an hour or two. And then I'm fresh for the whole day.
Do you want your kids to follow in your footsteps?
I wouldn't want my daughter, no. I don't want my daughter to box at all. She wouldn't box. I'm going to raise her so diva, bougie, that she would not even think, she wouldn't even like the sweat. That's how my daughter's going to be. I've set the standards high for my daughter already. Like, have you seen Bad Boys?
Yeah.
Comes knocking on the door. You motherfucker look 30. Yeah, that's going to be me and my son standing there. You know, if anyone who thinks they can come near my daughter, it's like, the standard is going to be so up here, it's ridiculous. Like, she's going to be single forever. So I feel safe for anyone who even tries to approach me, to be honest. And my son, yeah, I would like my son because I feel like boxing installs, it gives you more than it takes. The discipline, the mindset. You don't know who you are, in my opinion. Like, you don't know really who you are until you're in that ring. And you find out a lot about who you are as a man. The ring is a scary place. It's an intimidating place. In that ring, you find out who you are. I found out who I am. And I feel like it installs discipline, work ethic, mindset, overcoming fears. It's boxing, but that all applies to life. Them same qualities apply to life and anything you do.
Going back to that nature nurture piece, then with him, it's going to be different, right? Because he's going to be exposed to it from...
Oh, well, I'm moving to Spain. I'm going to move to Spain, I think. Mallorca, where I grew up. And my son just be a kid. Not like my dad's Conor Benn. I feel like if I was raised here and my dad being Nigel Benn, the upbringing would have been, my childhood would have been taken away from me. I don't want that for my kid. I want my kid to just be my son, just be a kid. And not being Nigel Benn's kid or Conor Benn's son. No, he has his own identity. He's his own man. He can do what he wants. Don't matter what I do. Anything I do reflect on him. You know, so yeah, if I see it, I wouldn't keep it from him like my dad did me. If I see it, come down to boxing gym, not here, because it'll be way too hostile. And it's just horrible, because I know that feeling like of having something to prove, and it takes away the fun from it. Like, it took boxing, the fun from boxing away from me. Wasn't even sure if I wanted to do it for quite a while I was still pro. I was like, I'm actually not enjoying this.
It's a really mature outlook for your kid.
What do you mean?
It just shows maturity in obviously you've got some lived experiences of going to the boxing gym, right? And I know, like, I've been down to those sorts of gyms, and the pressure when you're not even the son of someone and there's expectation on you versus, you know, that. And because you see a lot of these guys who are elite athletes and go on to be some of the best athletes that probably have ever lived, but they come from, like, being drilled from 3, 4, 5 years old by their parents, and they've almost farmed to get to that level. It's almost like a...
Yeah, I think for my son, I don't want to put no pressure on him. You got to remember, you got one childhood. You got one childhood. I want my kid to believe in Santa for as long as he possibly can. And the tooth fairy, like, you're a kid. Just enjoy it. Like, I think my life was so disciplined and so religious early on in my life that my childhood was really taken away from me. Yes, I had a blessed life. Yes, I had a blessed upbringing. Yes, I had parents that loved me. I didn't understand the religion and the discipline part. And when you mix religion and discipline, a lot of your childhood's taken away from you. So I feel like, yeah, we are a family of faith. Yeah, we go to church. Yeah, we pray every night before Eli goes to bed. We pray together. And he says the cutest prayer. because he thanks God for the dinosaurs, thanks God for the birds, thanks God for the, the animals. And then he goes, in your name I pray, amen. And it's the cutest thing. But I feel like with faith and sport, the morals faith brings, whether you're a believer or not, the morals of faith goes a long way.
I think your experience of coming into sport at 16 probably gives you the confidence that you can just be a kid and still excel, and reach the heights in whatever he does.
I mean, I was longboarding, listening to AC/DC for, majority of my childhood. Guns N' Roses and Jonas Brothers, actually. I quite like the Jonas Brothers. Believe it or not, I used to love this.
Mad sitting looking at you now.
No, I know. It's mad. Because I look in the mirror and I sometimes think to myself, what happened to you? Used to sing in the church choir, play the guitar. No, I know, yeah.
Got evidence of that. I don't believe it, bro.
But I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a picture and you will laugh. I'm sitting there in ripped purple jeans on with ripped up Vans with a guitar in my hand and my hair was doing a madness. Yeah. I send you, I was like 16. Yeah, it's horrific. But I never would have, the right doors open for you. So I feel like irrelevant of what happened to me throughout my life, what's for you is for you. Whatever's for you is meant to happen. Like, you can't control that. You just do your part and watch the doors open, and the right doors will open for you. You can't force doors to open for you that are closed.
I think we're going to hold it there. I fucking loved every minute of this. I think we're going to try and do it again.
Cool. Yeah.
Unpack a few more bits that we can talk about hopefully later down the line. I want to get a training session in with some stage as well on a run. If you're a savage and bring intensity, we'll see how those veins are popping in your neck when we try.
Okay, you're making me a little bit nervous because, I'm a savage to me. You look like a savage.
Oh, we'll soon see. But listen, I've enjoyed every minute of that. I think there's so many nice little lessons in there about how to approach life and the intensity and the work ethic. And also, I think for anyone in the sporting world or ambitious to be an athlete, knowing that you can start a little bit later, and still reach those heights through discipline and work ethic. I also think there's a fair amount of like humanizing yourself on this podcast that we've seen as well. Like if you walked into a room, you are someone who looks intimidating. You do see, the clickbait stuff that's put online, and it's all about aggression and rah before fights. But I think there's a side to you that is the softer side to you, the fatherhood piece. I think that's it's something that I think people should listen to and take note of, because it's I think it's important, and it's special.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming on, Con.
My pleasure.